Good evening and welcome to Understanding Pre-Diabetes, hosted by Ivor Valley South PCN. I hope you're all well and thank you for joining us this evening. So, Ivor Valley South PCN is an NHS organisation providing patient services supporting Shepherd Health Centre, Larkfield and Alsey Medical Partnership and Lower Stondon Surgery. Our team consists of a wide range of health professionals, including health coaches and clinical pharmacists, some of whom you will hear from this evening. We'll cover a range of topics into this evening's session to help you understand what pre-diabetes is and how your lifestyle can impact and prevent it. There will be opportunity to ask questions throughout the session. Please use the Q&A function. You should have a Q&A button somewhere at the top of your screen, and we will have dedicated time to answer all of those, as many of those questions as possible towards the end. So at the end of the session, we will go through as many questions as possible. If they can be kept as general as we can, just so as many of you as possible can benefit from the expertise that our team has to offer. If you do want to leave any feedback or ask any more specific questions to your needs, by all means, use the QR code that will pop up periodically throughout the session, and leave your details and we will get back to you. So the first question I'm sure you all have is, what is pre-diabetes? Well, pre-diabetes means that you have blood sugars that are higher than usual. And that therefore puts you at a risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So how do we check for this? Well, we pick this up through a blood test, also known as the HbA1c blood test, which is the main diagnostic blood test we use for diagnosing diabetes. This blood test reflects your blood sugar levels over a 3-month period. So gives us a really good idea of what's going on in the body, and how you're processing your sugars. So if you come for a blood test or a health check or something like that, and we say we're going to do a HbA1c or we're going to do the diabetes blood test, even if you've been really, really healthy and really, really good for the last few days, that's great, but that won't make a difference to what comes out in your HbA1c, because it is a broader idea. So I'm going to hand over to one of our clinical pharmacists, Connor, who will tell you a little bit more about pre-diabetes, how it occurs. Thank you very much, Connor.
Hello, everyone. As Penny said, my name's Connor, one of the clinical pharmacists working at Lower Stondon Surgery, based there, but for the PCN. So I want to explain a little bit about the science behind it, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. So essentially, we all need energy and nutrients, and essentially we all need energy and nutrients, and that comes from most people would have 3 meals with some snacks and drinks included. And all of that is broken down into the elements which you see on the back of a food label. And that is things like protein, carbohydrates, and fats, among others. I'm going to focus on those 3 macronutrients. And essentially, from those that you consume, you could measure how many calories are in each one. So from all of the carbohydrates, all of the fats, and all of the proteins that you have, that all adds up to a total amount of calories that you consume each day. And essentially everyone has their own daily requirements. And with type 2 diabetes, essentially, it is an imbalance between how many calories we're consuming and how many we're expending through our whatever we're doing during the day, whether that's exercise or just sustaining us being alive. So the Department of Health says that women need on average 2,000 calories per day, and men need about 2,500 calories per day. But it is going to vary between people based on their age, their size, and their level of activity. And unfortunately, because we're battling an evolutionary mechanism whereby we keep a hold of all of the energy that we get, or all of the calories that we have. Whereas things like water, vitamins, other things, if our body doesn't need it, it just gets rid of it. But for some reason, because we didn't know when our next meal would be, all those thousands of years ago, our bodies hold on to all of that energy, and it stores it as fat. And it's okay to hold on to some when it gets stored under the skin. But unfortunately, when we consume too many calories, the body starts to bury in between the organs and within the organs. That's when it becomes unhealthy. That's when it becomes very inflammatory and starts to cause damage. So essentially, if we consume too many calories, so if you consume a little bit over what you need, then it's okay to store a little bit under the skin. But if that's sustained for a long period of time, and it is in excess, and that's both carbs, proteins, and fats, you essentially start to bury it within your organs and around them in the tummy area, and that's when it starts to become harmful to the body. So just to go a little bit more I didn't want to go too much into detail, but I'll explain a little bit more. So you've got an organ called the pancreas that releases insulin, and it releases insulin in response to the sugar that you consume, or the sugar or the carbs that you consume, because carbs are broken down into sugar. And that is an effect of what that pancreas does, that insulin tells your body to store those sugars within your liver and within your muscle. But again, if there's too many calories, if there is an excess, it starts to store in between your organs, and the consequence of that is that it causes one, inflammation, and two, the insulin becomes less effective. So essentially, what happens is that all those safety mechanisms in your body, they start to become overwhelmed. And as I said earlier, it triggers stress and inflammation. And also, one more thing is that when you have high levels of sugar in your vessels, in the same way that sugar sticks, it's kind of a sticky substance when if it's in a liquid form. It essentially sticks in or inside of your blood vessels, and it causes damage to those blood vessels. So essentially what you have is in someone who is type 2 diabetic, you get these complications where vessels of the eyes, the kidney, and the longer nerves, so down to the feet, those kinds of vessels, plus the nerves themselves, they become damaged from that excess sugar. And ultimately, with the inflammation, a combination of the vessels being blocked and the inflammation, you are at high risk of having a heart attack or a stroke. As I said earlier, muscle's the main storage site, and it's perfectly fine to have sugar stored in your muscle tissue and in your liver tissue. Unfortunately, if we're not moving enough, if we're not exercising enough, that sugar is not being consumed by that muscle tissue, and there's no more room. It's full. It's a finite capacity that your muscles have, And when they're full, and that's when your body starts to convert that extra sugar into fat and then store it wherever it can. Just one other point, there is a conception that type 2 diabetes is always something that only happens with people who have a high BMI, but actually there are people with a normal BMI or within that healthy range, they can still develop diabetes because they are low in muscle tissue. So even if you are of a healthy weight, if you're still not exercising enough and you're not able to build enough muscle tissue to mop up all of that sugar, then you will reach the capacity in those smaller muscle tissues. As I said before, so muscle is protective. So essentially, if you exercise more and you can build that muscle tissue, if you can grow a muscle, you're essentially giving yourself more room to store sugar. So the more muscle you have, and I'm not saying to go out to become a bodybuilder, but if you exercise that, you grow that muscle tissue, then the consequence of that is that you are a little bit more protected against the rises of sugar that when you eat. And just that last point, it's essentially in a nutshell, it's about balancing the number of calories you have, maintaining regular strength and aerobic activity, and eating healthy fats. So there are some, and I'm not going to, obviously my colleagues are going to touch on more about this, but there are some fats that are healthier than others. So things like olive oils and nuts, more than the fats that you'd find in a spreadable butter, for example. So, but I'll leave that for my colleagues to explain.
Thank you, Connor.
Okay.
So that was fabulous. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to pass you over to Diane, one of our health and wellbeing coaches, to go through some pre-diabetes and diet information. Thank you, Diane.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here. So I'm going to talk about how diet can help manage or prevent pre-diabetes. And can I control my slides, Penny?
I think so.
Oh, it's dancing everywhere. But anyway, so I'm going to talk about how you can use diet to prevent or even reverse prediabetes. And I'm not sure how to move my slide on, Penny. Let's just take control, request control. Yeah. So the first thing we can do is change our breakfast. A lot of what Connor said about the carbohydrate, when we take on carbohydrates and we take on more than we need, or we take on food more than we need, we can end up with a lot of fat storage. But one of the ways that we can take on carbohydrates without creating excess energy is by eating a carbohydrate that is high in fiber. And the reason for this is that when you have a high fiber carbohydrate, it's very difficult to strip out the sugar from that carbohydrate. So you end up almost bypassing the digestion process and not extracting all the sugars that are there, and it goes down into the large bowel and it feeds your gut bacteria and doesn't produce a lot of stored fat. So how do you know what is a high fiber food? According to the NHS website, a high fiber food is a food that has a minimum of 10 grams of fiber per 100 grams. So Connor talked about reading your labels. So when you think about what you're going to have a high fiber breakfast, let's say you're going to have Weetabix or porridge oats or something like that, or wholemeal bread, look at the labels at the back. The front might tell you lots of nice things, that this is high in fiber, high in protein, but the truth of the matter of what is actually in that food is on the back. So swing it round, read the back. What is the fiber content? So between 8 to 10 would be ideal. Anything lower than that is not a high fiber food, and means that you will be able to extract quite a lot of sugar from that. And if you don't use it for exercise, you will then store it as fat. So lower in sugar. So at the front, we'll say lower in sugar, but go for one that's green, where the sugar is green. Look for something that says no added sugar, and read your list of ingredients on the back of the package, just to be sure that you know exactly what you're getting. Another way that you can add fiber to your breakfast is that you can add nuts and seeds. For those who are able to eat those, you can add nuts and seeds to your breakfast. So you can have plain porridge, you can have chopped nuts, ground flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, that sort of thing. And that will increase the fiber content, and that will also increase how full you feel, so you won't feel the need to overeat. If you have whole fruit, chopped fruit in your breakfast, that will also come with an amount of fiber that will add to the total fiber that you take in that day. Connor mentioned things like fat and the liver. So having high fiber foods can also help you reduce the amount of cholesterol your body produces. So avoid refined foods, eat whole foods. And what does that mean? So if something is refined, let's consider oats, for example. You have porridge oats, whole rolled oats, or you have ready bread. Same oats, both will say high in fiber. But the ready bread will be a refined version because it's ground down really fine. So that means that the structure of the oat is now broken apart into tiny little pieces, and you can then extract more sugar from it. But if you have it whole, it's really hard for your body to tear apart those fibers and extract the sugar. So go whole. And so instead of ready bread, have porridge oats. And I have on screen, there are some pictures of possible breakfast that you can have that is high in fiber. So your natural yogurt with nuts and seeds and fruit, wholemeal bread with peanut butter and some banana, that's a good high fiber. You can have Connor mentioned healthy fat. So you have your wholemeal bread with eggs, with vegetables, that increase the vegetable part, increases the fiber. The wholemeal bread increases the fiber. You will notice on every one of those pictures that there is an element of some protein and an element of fat. So for example, porridge oats has naturally occurring fat in it. Peanut butter will have fat. Yogurt will have some fat, and your eggs will have some fat. When you add protein and fat to your whole carbohydrate, you actually slow down the speed at which the glucose will be extracted from that food and enter into your bloodstream. And that would also affect how your body's insulin responds. So having healthy fats and proteins with your carbohydrate, as in a balanced meal, will also control how you spike your blood sugar, which is a phrase a lot of people hear about. So it will give you instead of a sharp curve like that of your blood sugar, you will have a lovely curve like that when you add healthy proteins and fats to your breakfast. Another way you can increase the fiber in your diet is by eating what we call slow carbs. Slow carbs are foods that will not spike your blood, will give you a slow release glucose into the blood, which will not require sharp response in insulin. And examples of those are legumes, like your nuts, your seeds, your beans, whole grains. These are all foods that will release their glucose slowly. This is really, so you may have heard about glycemic index or glycemic load of a food. But what that means is how quickly you extract the sugar when you digest it. And for comparison, I will tell you. So for example, if you were eating crisps, that has a high glycemic index. That means that it's been refined, for one, and also you can get the sugar out really quickly. But if you are chewing on nuts, whole almonds, say, for example, there's a lot of chewing that needs to be done. It's whole. You kind of grind it down like the factory can. And so you will not release the glucose out of it. The same will be for a whole grain pasta or beans And you can slow down your carbs, again, like I said before, by adding some form of protein to it. For example, apple and cheese, that will give you a lower curve of glucose. Wholemeal pasta with vegetables. So these are all ways that you can increase your fiber, reduce your sugar in your diet, which will not create that need for that much insulin. And you will not have excess, because you can't really extract all the sugar when the food is in its whole form. And like Connie said, you won't have that excess glucose that turns into fat that gets stored in places where it shouldn't go. Another thing that what you can do to help with your blood sugar is to eat vegetables that are not very starchy. An easy way to understand what is a starchy veg, it would be the ones that grow below the ground and are pale in color. It's a simplistic explanation, but it works. So for example, if you think potatoes and parsnips, they are growing below the ground, they will have more sugar in them than broccoli, kale, because they are brighter and they grow above the ground. So eat more above ground vegetables and reduce your below ground vegetables that are pale in color. And that's a good guide when you're choosing what you're going to eat on your vegetables. So I pinched this a picture from a website that was really, really good in explaining that simplistically. So for example, if you look on that picture, it shows you the number. There's a number attached to each vegetable. So that means that the amount of sugar or the volume of sugar that can come out. So the lower the number, the less sugar that it has. And you will notice the ones that are green will have the least amount of sugars, or bright in colors, and not a potato or a grain of rice. So when you put together your plate, how do you build your plate to make sure that you are getting the right amount of nutrients, not too much energy, not too much sugar? And the way forward is when you build your plate, when you put food on your plate, start with the vegetable. Put the vegetable on first. So that takes up half of the plate. Then quarter of the plate is your protein, your lean protein. So we don't want to increase our fat mass by having too much animal fat. For like fatty meat or red meat will come with a lot of fat attached to it. So lean protein with less fat and healthy fats like that you would get from avocados, nuts, and seeds. So half your plate will be your vegetables, quarter of your plate will be your protein, and a quarter of a plate will be your carbohydrate, which will be whole grain. So that would be brown rice, whole grain bread, whole grain pasta, potatoes with the skin on. Snacking. No one needs a snack, not unless you have been told by your doctor that you are underweight and you need to gain weight. Nobody needs a snack. If you eat correctly at meal times, you can make it to the next meal without a snack, especially between breakfast and lunch. You should be able to go for 3 hours if you have your slow release carbs, your high fiber carbs, a bit of protein and healthy fats in that meal. You should not need a snack. Not even a baby needs a snack. But if you must, go for something that is high in fiber, low in sugar. So raw vegetables, fruits that are lower in sugar, that comes with a lot of fiber attached. So the picture of the satsuma will come with a lot of fiber attached, nuts and seeds. But try to avoid snacking. Now, nothing works in the body without hydration. If you have a lot of blood sugar and you are reducing your sugar intake, your kidneys will still have to balance your blood and try to clear out any toxins that might result from what you've eaten if you're eating refined foods and so on. But nothing works without water. So if you think you need a snack, drink a glass of water, wait 10 minutes, and if you are still hungry, then maybe you do need a snack. But always go for the water first. And check your urine to know if you're getting enough water. You should, so the picture shows 1 to 3 is healthy pee, and 4 to 8, you need to hydrate. So whenever you pass urine, if you're able to see it, look at the color and keep drinking until you see your urine looks like pale straw or champagne colored. You need approximately 5 pints of fluid daily. That includes your tea and coffee. Try to drink most of your fluid in the first 10 hours of waking. And the reason I say this, it just stops you getting up in the night to empty your bladder, which means that you get a better night rest. And research shows that people who sleep well have better blood sugar control and make better choices when it comes to choosing food.
Thank you, Diane. That was wonderful. So to go with your fabulous nutrition, there is lifestyle elements, and I'm going to hand over to one of our other health coaches, Gavin, to go through some of that for you.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. Penny, can you do the slides? Amazing. So, extremely important to keep the body moving. Essentially, we're still animals. We still need to do what we need to do. So, hunt and gather. Our bodies still do that. So, upon the next slide. So some of the life-changing benefits of regular exercise. So obviously we know it's amazing for the heart, keeps you physically active, so it keeps you nice and ready to move at any point, reduces the risk of chronic diseases, 30% lower risk of early death, prevents or helps treat depression. This is very, very important. So as long as you're outside, you're doing some sort of movement, it does massively help with your mental health, makes you chemically happier, promotes and value of habits. So it takes around about 2 weeks to get a habit. So if you think when you want to start something, most people will say, I'm going to start on a Monday. No, there's never a right time to start something. Do it today. Start it today, and then it takes about 4 weeks for that habit to be ingrained in your system. Massively increases confidence. So exercise will increase your confidence, the way you look and the way you feel. Helps you relax and sleep. So your body will be repairing while you're sleeping, and also improves your sex life. And the big important one is lowers the risk of type 2 diabetes, which is why we're here today. So the benefits of regular exercise. So this improves insulin sensitivity. Regular physical activity helps the body use insulin more effectively, reducing blood sugar levels. Lowers blood glucose levels. Muscles use glucose for energy during exercise, helping reduce excess sugar in the bloodstream. Immediate energy. So your body first uses glucose for immediate energy from a process called glycolysis. Short-term storage. If there is extra glucose, it's converted into glycogen, a carbohydrate storage form. I think I kind of said a little bit about that. And stored in the liver and the muscles. This acts as a short-term energy reserve. Long-term storage, once glycogen stores are full, the body converts the excess glucose into fat. Glycosylglycerides, the long-term storage of adipose tissue. So with that, I'll give you some guidance on the type of exercises you can use. So a lot of people kind of think to themselves that you can go on a treadmill, you're sprinting, you're sweating. Yes, amazing, that's fantastic. But the energy system that you're using is carbohydrate. So the carbohydrates that you've eaten. If you want to slowly burn fat reserves, it's a consistent walk on an incline. Okay. So the dangers of obviously with the belly fat. So aids in weight management. Excess supports healthy weight, loss of maintenance, which is crucial to preventing type 2 diabetes. So one of the things that we haven't said is like visceral fat. So this is the fat that's around our major organs, essentially. So imagine you've got like a glove around your heart. It's not making it do its job properly. The lower the visceral fat, the better things are going to work. So to do this is obviously with exercise. One of the best possible ways to lose exercise is resistance training. Again, as Connor touched on, it's not becoming a bodybuilder. It's just putting your body under a slight bit of stress. You can use body weight. You can use cans of beans. You can use whatever's good for you. Resistance bands. There's so many different things out there that can help with resistance training. So reduces abnormal fat, decreasing visceral fat. Fat lowers insulin resistance and inflammation. So you can see on the drawing just there on the cross section of where the visceral fat is sitting. So be kind to your heart. Obviously, being kind to your heart is obviously one of the big things. So manage blood pressure. This is to do with exercise, obviously. Control your cholesterol. Be smoke-free. Managing stress. Eat healthily. 10,000 steps a day. That's actually been lowered to 7,000. But if you can get 10,000 in, get those steps in. Do it whatever way you can. Rather than getting the car down to the shops, walk down to the shops. Rather than taking the car over to see your relatives or friends, if you can walk it, walk it. Doesn't matter if it's raining outside, you've got an umbrella. So heart matters. So improves cardiovascular health, helps control blood pressure, cholesterol, and triglycerides, reducing the risk of heart disease and major concern for preparates. Boosts metabolism, increasing resting metabolic rate, helping regulate energy balance. So that's very, very important to keep the body moving as it should be. Treat your body like it's an engine. The more calories you're burning, the better. Enhances mood and reduces stress. Physical activity lowers stress hormones like cortisol, which can otherwise raise blood sugar levels. Cortisol is when you're stressed, that kind of raises it up. It's kind of the same sort of family as adrenaline, but the round out there. Supports better sleep. So good sleep improves hormone balance, including those affecting glucose metabolism. Increases energy levels. Regular exercise combats fatigue and promotes overall well-being. It's all well and good when you say you're going to start it. You've just got to start it, and you will feel better once you've started exercising. Doesn't matter where you start. It can be just the walk-in, come back, do like a seated exercise. There's so many different classes out there at the moment. Again, if you do need help, we are there to help you. So smiling, it's really, really important. You've got to be happy. I'm not saying all of the time, but it's very, very important to smile. And you really use so many muscles, and you do smile while you're exercising. So smiling can help you live longer. Proven fact. Smiling makes people happy. Smiling can boost your immune system, releasing lots of different hormones into your bloodstream. It's so, so important. Smiling can be great for your romantic life. The babies use baby smile in the use role. Smile's contagious. As we all know, smiling is good for your heart. Smiling helps reduce pain and increase endurance. Smiling is a good business and success. Smiling makes you look and feel younger. So physical activity delays or prevents progression of type 2 diabetes. So with correct nutrition and the exercise, it can reduce it a hell of a lot. Consistent exercise combined with a healthy diet can cut the risk of developing diabetes by up to 58%, as shown in major studies by the Diabetes Prevention Program. Now that is massive, 58%. So here's a few kind of ideas of exercises that you can do. So this is amazing for the cardiac system. So it's your heart. So brisk walking, jogging or running, cycling, outdoors, stationary, swimming. In honesty, look at the list. If you can kind of see which ones that you think you'd enjoy, but it's just starting one. As I said, it doesn't matter what kind of level you're at. what you're doing. You just need to start. So resistance, as I said before, there's so many different resistance. So back one. Amazing. So many different ways you can use resistance. So there's some there. So your free weights, your dumbbells, your barbells, resistance bands, bodyweight exercises, squats, lunges, push-ups, planks. For each time you squat, it's 1 calorie. With a squat, all you're doing essentially is sitting down, standing up. That's all a squat is. Okay, you do that every day. Everybody does it. There's a couple of other ideas like weight machines and at the gym. Again, you don't have to use a gym. If you need ideas, speak to the team, speak to us, and we can help you. So low impact exercises, again, these are very, very important for flexibility. So you're stretching, those kind of things. It releases so many nutrients into your bloodstream and obviously helps with everyday life. So some ideas there, your yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, dynamic stretching routines. Add one of these into your daily routine, or even do it once or twice a week. Again, just starting. So lifestyle activities. So as I said a second ago, rather than taking the car somewhere, use the stairs rather than the lift. Walking or biking to work, household chores, doing a short walk. Again, it's just put a clock to work. Say you've got like 30 minutes, get that exercise done. Rather than sit there, not to say anyone does, sit there on your mobile phone, having a quick look, do some exercise. And here is just a brief kind of beginner's level of something you could be doing once a week. So the weekly plans, you get your Monday, you get a brisk walk, then a little bit of strength training. This is obviously beginner's level, gentle yoga, brisk walk, strength training, fun activity. Again, that could just be, we've got like Chicksands Woods near us. You could go there, walk around the woods, rest or like walk. Again, it doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be progressive. So next one's your moderate level. So someone that's done just up the stage further. So you got your Monday through to Sunday. It's got there your yoga and Pilates in there for releasing the nutrients. It's also your cardio and your strength training. Again, if you can train outside as much as you can, it's very, very important. And your active level. So interval cardio, HIIT or cycling. Again, if you don't know much about that, it's starting slow, going fast, slow, fast. That can be done via time. So you do something for 30 seconds, run for a minute. You increase it 30 seconds, run for a minute, or go from lamppost to lamppost. Your strength training, so many different programs out there you can go through. Again, if you want to find some, talk to us and we'll show you where you can find them. And then you've got your other bits and pieces on there. So moderate cardio, again, as I said, on an incline walk, you'll burn more calories than you will on a sprint. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gavin. So I'm going to hand over to the wider team now to answer some of your questions. So I'd like to welcome back Connor, as well as our enhanced diabetic nurse, Kelly, Gavin and Diane as well, to field some of your questions. Right, let's get you all in the frame.
Hi, so please feel free to put any questions into the Q&As. So far, we just got a couple of questions come in. Manjaro, just trying to keep it general. Can we talk about the criteria to have this prescribed and around eligibility? Just again, some understanding around that, please.
Yes, so for Manjaro in our area, they are prioritizing people. They're staggering it. So the people with the highest BMIs are being treated first. So I think it's like 50, then 45, then 40, then I think it might be like that. But it's not just what your BMI is, it's also those other conditions that are listed. So you need to have at least 4 of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, and established cardiovascular disease, which means you need to have had something like a stroke, a heart attack, a vessel disease, where in your legs, where they have to operate on it, and I think those are the 3 main ones. Kenny might be able to help me, but I feel like it's strokes, heart attacks, and vessel disease. Yeah. And diabetes as well. So you need to have actual diabetes itself.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Connor. Any other questions? Please feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll leave the chat open for the next few minutes, and then we'll get those answered as they come up.
The other question coming in is about sharing the slides. So Penny will show the QR for the feedback form. Please fill that in. And let us know any of your questions via that, or I popped in our email address, and obviously we can send the slides to you. This session's being recorded as well, so if you want to listen to it again or share it with a friend or colleague, then contact us and we can share that link with you.
Diane.
Yes.
Portion sizes. Any information on that you can share? We've got a question asking, are they important, and how would you gauge your portion?
So I mentioned showed them one of the slides, the plate. So first of all, we have to think about how big dinner plates have grown over the years. So we want to have a plate that is not 12 inches wide to start with. So avoid that huge dinner plate that's being sold now, that's being promoted. But portions would be same as half your plate or more than half your plate with vegetables. If you do that, then there is very little room for you to get carbohydrates on there. But if you wanted to have some idea in terms of your carbohydrate, you want to have a palm size amount. If you are trying to manage your blood sugar, so when I say a palm size, I mean a hand size portion is your carbohydrate, what will fit in your hand. Similar for your protein, and then the rest would be your high fiber vegetables. That would be a rough guide about your portion control. So when you put together your plate, this is the size of your carbs, this is the size of your fruit, this is the size of your protein. So that's a good starting point, because we hear a lot about high protein and eat a lot of protein, but the body cannot store protein. So if you eat more protein than you need and you go over your energy intake, you will strip the nitrogen out of that protein and turn it into a fat. So if you are going to control your blood sugar and not gain weight, the best way to do that is to eat more vegetables than your starchy carbs and your protein. So in terms of protein requirement, the protein requirement per person is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So if you take someone with a 60 kg body weight and times that by 0.8, that is the amount of protein you require daily. And that is at the high end. So you don't need to go over that unless you're lifting really heavy. So for example, you're lifting heavy weights, you're working more than an hour and a half in the gym, you will have a lot of tissue breakdown. Then you would need probably 1 to 1.6 grams, depending on how big you are, per kilogram of body weight. So the NHS recommendation, and this calculation was determined with a very wide range of people. So even if you went to 1, you would still get more than enough of your protein intakes. If it's 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight is your protein requirement, your starch should be your hand size, and the rest is vegetables. I hope that helps.
Great,
And
thanks,
Diane, whilst you're on a run, always popular. It's a really good question. Do I need to eat breakfast? Should I eat breakfast?
Breakfast is when you break your fast. If you are not hungry, do not eat unless you have to take medication in the morning with food. Then I would say something very small, but I would say the moment you wake, start drinking. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Eat when you are hungry. When you eat when you are hungry and stop eating when you are not hungry, not full, but not hungry, you allow your hunger hormones and your fullness hormones to work correctly. So my advice would be eat when you are hungry. If you are going to be at work and you may not get a chance to eat, and you might have a situation where you have a lower blood sugar, it may be recommended that you take something along that you might be able to eat. If you can't eat, I would recommend you have a small something just to get you through to your next meal. But the rule is, not hungry, don't eat. Unless you're not being hungry is a symptom of something more serious.
Running along with that, really, can I add raisins to bran in my cereal instead of sugar?
Yes, but you only need a tablespoon of raisins. No more than a tablespoon.
And a general question, how long can it take to reverse pre-diabetes?
3 months.
If you follow all the recommendations.
If you follow everything to the letter, you can see a change after 3 months, but in truth, 6 months to a year. So for the 3 months, would be that person who's hitting it straight away, doing everything correctly, really reducing their carbs. That is possible. But in reality, 6 months to a year. So a year is a yearly test.
Do you want to explain how health coaching can help reverse pre-diabetes by having a plan with a health coach?
So with health coaching, we work with the person. So it's not a broad brush approach to what you eat. We will work within what you are able to eat, what you like to eat, your eating style, the time of day that you eat. We will, with Gavin, will work around your ability in terms of physical activity. We will work around what you are able to do. We set goals that are really low. So you will set low goals that you know you can hit. So you get that winning feeling. Then you build on those goals. So you don't set the bar too high. You start within your capabilities, including budget, taste, texture issues, because some people don't like. So I love avocado. Some people think it's a devil's food. So when we meet you one-on-one, we personalize what we say to you to suit you and what you can do and what you can eat and what you can afford to buy.
Great, thank you, Diane. So another question, when we're aiming for 5 pints of fluids, can this include things, you mentioned the fluids in your tea and coffee, but things like cordial?
I'm a bit skeptical about cordial when it comes with added sugar. So it's got to be something that's diluted or not high in sugar.
Thank you.
But yes, the short answer is yes.
Are there any, obviously, fluids containing sugar should be consumed in moderation. Anything else you would try to avoid?
Fruit juices. Eat fruit, not drink the juice. Don't drink your calories, chew your calories.
Okay, brilliant. Right, so I've popped the QR code onto the screen. Please feel free to scan that to leave feedback. If you want any of our team to contact you regarding anything, please leave your details. We have got time for a few more questions if there's anything you'd like to pop in the chat.
There's just a couple more questions come in. Is it a yearly blood test once you're pre-diabetic?
Yes, you will be invited for annual monitoring once you've been identified as being pre-diabetic.
Lovely. And there was one more question. Is it dangerous for a pre-diabetic to eat cakes, pastries, sweets, or are they best avoided altogether? Diane.
Short
Again.
answer, do not. The long answer, as Gavin would say, link it with some physical activity if you must. Make it seldom. Don't have it too often. So my rule is cake should only be consumed on birthdays and Christmas, on Christmas Day. As you know, Jackie, Christmas is just one day. So we don't start Christmas on the 1st of December. Christmas is the 25th of December. The 26th, we're back on eating healthily, making good choices. So I would say limit the cake, but try to move your body after you've eaten the cake. So don't eat cake and lie down, or don't eat cake and sit down, because you want to use up that sugar that you've consumed. When you move your body, you use less insulin, because muscle contraction allows for the sugar to be taken to the right place, like Connor and Gavin said. So try to say no more than you say yes.
And another comment's just come in. I've been on the pre-diabetic course run at Meppershall for the last year. My number was 42 and I have lost over a stone. My number was last at 43. Why?
So I'd say
So-
everyone's experience will be different, and there is no kind of generic answer to that, but please do get in touch and someone can look at your specific case and help you with that.
Also remember that it's not about BMI. It's not always about BMI or how big you are or how much you weigh. It's about, so you can lose weight, so you can be losing the amount of fat that your body is holding on to, but if you're still consuming carbs to a certain amount, then your sugar levels are still going to be going up. So it is, do you mean? So it's kind of it's a little bit more nuanced. Yeah.
Can I add to that? You could lose weight and you could lose a lot of muscle. And if you're losing muscle, your ability to store your sugar safely is now compromised. And so you will have the issue where you might be what we call a toffee, so thin outside and fat inside. You may still have that fat around your heart and so on, and inside your blood vessels. So it's really important to maintain your muscle mass and lose body fat. And that is something the health coaches could help you with, to help you maintain your muscle, lose body fat, and help you to reduce your blood sugar.
I think we're running out of questions. So Penny, do you want to go through the feedback form again?
So thank you everyone for attending this evening. We will leave the QR code on the screen for you to scan and leave your feedback, as well as our email address. Please, please, please do get in touch if you would like any more personalised information, if you would like the slides or recording from this evening to be sent to you. Get in touch and we can facilitate that over the coming days. And thank you very much to Connor, Gavin and Diane for your help this evening. Your expertise has been greatly appreciated.
And thank you to Penny
Thank
as
you.
well. And thank you for joining us. And thank you for your questions. I can see quite a few people are still on, so if you can complete the feedback form, it's really useful to us, and it's how we shape future events as well, along with any personal questions that you may have for us as well.